You wake to the sound of a city that has forgotten how to be loud. There is birdsong and the soft murmur of water somewhere below, and beneath it all a quiet so complete that for a moment you wonder if you have gone deaf. Then you understand. This is simply what a morning sounds like when nothing is straining, when no engine roars and no horn cries out. You lie still, listening to the absence of everything that once filled your mornings with low and constant stress, and you feel your body unclench in a way it never quite learned to before. You rise, and the wall before you clears like mist burning away, revealing the city beyond. It does not look like a city you remember. It looks like a forest that learned to stand tall. Towers climb into the sky draped in green, their every level spilling over with trees and trailing vines, balconies blooming into the open air. Bridges of living wood arc between them through the canopy. And far below, where streets should be, there is only a continuous garden, threaded with streams and quiet paths where people walk beneath the shade. You search for roads, for the gray arteries that once defined every place you ever lived, and you find none. The ground was given back to the earth. You step onto a balcony, and the air that greets you is cool and impossibly clean, carrying the scent of soil and blossom. You breathe deeply, and you realize you are not bracing against anything. There is no haze on the horizon, no sting in your lungs. Then it occurs to you that the buildings themselves are breathing with you. Their living surfaces drinking carbon from the sky and giving back clean air, so that the whole city works less like a machine and more like a great green organism that simply happens to hold homes. A small craft drifts up to meet you, smooth and quiet as a held breath, and you step inside. It rises and slips into a gentle current of others, all gliding through the open air between towers, none of them touching, none of them slowing, none of them waiting. You watch them weave past one another with a grace that should be impossible, and you slowly understand that there is no driver in any of them. They move as one mind, sharing every path between them, so that the idea of a collision, the idea of being stuck, the idea of waiting in a line of metal, all of it belongs to a past no one here can quite imagine. The hours your ancestors lost sitting motionless were simply given back. The craft sets you down at the edge of a wide plaza, and you discover that the gardens climbing every surface are not for beauty alone. People are gathering fruit and greens among the terraces, talking and unhurried, and you realize the city grows much of what it eats within steps of where people live. No long journeys, no waste, no fields stripped bare somewhere out of sight. Food simply grows where people are, and what one home does not need flows freely to another. You watch someone press a ripe handful into a stranger's hands without a word exchanged, and you understand that scarcity, the great engine of so much old fear, has loosened its grip here. You walk on, drawn through the plaza, and you come upon a circle of children gathered around something glowing softly in the air. You wait for a teacher to appear, for the rows and the schedules you once knew, but none come. Each child is following a different thread of wonder. One is folding light into shapes, one is listening to the language of whales. A gentle presence guides each of them, somehow knowing exactly how their particular mind learns, never rushing, never ranking. You realize that no child here is ever left behind, because there is no single line they are all forced to walk. Learning became a thing shaped around curiosity, and so it never had to end. You pass people as you go, and you begin to notice something in them, an ease, an unhurried calm. You meet the eyes of someone who looks perhaps 40, and a quiet certainty tells you they have lived far longer, a century or more. Aging did not vanish here, but its cruelty did. Bodies are tended quietly and always, mended long before damage becomes illness, so that a long life is no longer a slow descent, but a wide and open plateau. People spend their added decades not enduring, but beginning again, learning new crafts, falling in love a second or third time, becoming someone new. If this glimpse of a gentler world is stirring something in you, a quiet ache for a future worth reaching, take a moment to subscribe and walk further into it with us. Every place we explore together is a reminder of what we are still capable of building. The more of us who hold this future in our minds, the more possible it becomes. Now, let the journey continue. You rise again into the air, and a transit line carries you upward until the whole city opens beneath you. And from here, you finally understand its shape. Nothing sprawled outward in endless concrete. Everything grew upward and gathered close, leaving vast reaches of the land returned entirely to wild. Beyond the green towers, forests run unbroken to the horizon. Rivers wind free of any wall, and herds move across plains no road ever crossed. Humanity chose to live densely and gently, so that most of the world could simply be left alone to breathe. Half the planet, you learn, was given back this way. The line carries you toward the coast, and there the city does something you do not expect. It meets the rising sea and does not fight it. Floating districts spread across the water, lifting and settling with the tide, their lower levels open to the waves. People tend gardens of kelp beneath the surface that clean the water as they grow, and the ocean that once threatened to swallow the old cities became instead a place to live. You watch the sea and the city move together, and you understand that humanity stopped trying to conquer the world and learned at last to bend with it. You descend as the day softens toward evening, and the towers begin to glow, not with the harsh electric glare you remember, but with a warm and golden light, as if the city itself were exhaling. People fill the garden terraces, sharing meals, sitting close in long, unhurried conversation. And you notice the thing that underlies all of it. There is time here. No one is racing toward the next task. Work still exists, but people pour themselves into it because it matters to them, not because they fear what happens if they stop. The labor that once broke bodies and stole years was lifted away, and what remained was the part humans always wanted to keep: the making, the solving, the caring for one another. You find a quiet place at the edge of a high terrace and sit. And below you, the lights come alive one by one across the breathing city. You watch a child point upward at the first stars, asking some question you cannot hear, and you watch an elder who has seen more than 100 years answer with a smile. And it settles over you, the truth of this place. None of it was inevitable. Every clean breath, every returned forest, every healed body and unhurried evening was once a problem someone swore could never be solved, undone in the end by people who refused to stop imagining something better. This future was not handed down. It was chosen again and again by ordinary hands no different from your own. You close your eyes and let the cool air move across you, and a single thought stays with you as the city glows beneath the gathering stars. This is what we could become. And quietly, somewhere deep within you, you begin to believe that we will.